save money, I had a 12-hour layover in Houston, Texas, and a 2-hour layover in Washington, D.C. before arriving at the Heathrow Airport, England. The whole trip was 36 hours long. I got to a friend of my dad's place, who was kind enough to host me during my 5-day stay in London. My host's house was gorgeous and very well located. I dedicated myself to unpacking a little bit, having a very much needed shower, and getting to know my host family. I was lucky enough that my cousin was also visiting London during the time I spent there. We went to the British Museum first. I wish I could say first thing in the morning, but I would actually be lying to you. I've unfortunately never been a morning person. I have some very mixed feelings about the British Museum. On the one hand, I think it's terrible that they straight up stole so many artifacts and so many relics from different regions. Most prominently the Rosetta Stone from Egypt and the 6 caryatid from Greece. It not only monetizes the cultures it stole from, but it also impedes these regions from representing and honoring properly their own culture. I witnessed this firsthand in the display of the caryatid sculptures in Athens, Greece. Put a pin on that idea for now. On the other hand, I can't deny that I loved the displays themselves, as I have a deep appreciation for these cultures, and I loved being able to access the cultural heritage of so many countries around the world, especially since there are many that I can't simply solo travel to. Highlights of the museum were the Rosetta Stone, which is, in case you don't know, like one of my best friends, a stone which contains the same text with slight variations in 2 languages, Ancient Greek and Ancient Egyptian, the latter expressed in 2 different scripts, hieroglyphics and demotic script. This stone was the key to deciphering hieroglyphics. The Roman version of Praxiteles, Aphrodite of Knidos. This Venus sculpture made during the Roman period is inspired by the work of Praxiteles. Apollo of Cyrene, a sculpture found in Cyrene, Libya, which is likely a copy of Hellenistic works by, you guessed it, the Romans. And finally, the Nereid monument, a tomb from Xanthos, Lycia, present-day Turkey, inspired by the Greek temples of Ionic order, but still following Lycian burial traditions. We spent most of the day just walking, which was fine by me. My favorite part of visiting new cities is looking at their architecture. We stumbled upon Southwark Cathedral. It's been a place of Christian worship for around 1,000 years. We then arrived to the Borough Market, which I really liked since one of my favorite activities is just looking at stuff I want or can't purchase. Around the time of the trip, I had started to get really into cooking and was exploring the world of spices, as I come from a family that unfortunately considers salt and pepper to be too much flavor. I loved seeing the flowers, the plants, the spices, the snacks and trinkets being sold. My cousin and her friend had an appointment at the top of the Sky Garden. I had to temporarily part ways with them. I submerged myself in music while I walked around and took advantage that we were close to the Tower Bridge to head that way, taking in the sights along the way. was originally going to go to Hyde Park with my cousin and her friend, but they kind of departed without me, so I had to rearrange my plans for the day. I decided to go to the Hampstead Heath, per my host's recommendation. It was nearby compared to Hyde Park, as I was staying in the Camden Borough. I loved the Hampstead Heath. There weren't too many people, and I could also see the buildings in the distance after going up one of the hills. It was nice to just wander around nature. This day literally consisted of walking around. I spent a good few hours in Hampstead Heath and then tried to find my way to a bus station to be able to walk around Piccadilly Circus. I felt very dizzy that day, so I decided to return early. However, I changed my mind halfway through and decided to turn back on the subway and headed towards Buckingham Palace. If I am completely and 100% honest, the palace itself was underwhelming. It's not very palacey from the outside. The monument in front of it, however, is beautiful.
My main plan for the day was watching a musical in the West End. The rest of the day would be spent in any activity that did not require much of a time commitment. My host recommended that I go to Primrose Hill, near the Chalk Farm subway station. I got lost the second I got out of the subway and didn't know what I was looking for. All I knew was what my host told me, that the buildings were lovely and the park was nice. And he was right. So shout out to Dave for both hosting me and giving me great recommendations. As I researched the area for this video, I found out there is a memorial oak for Shakespeare in Primrose Hill that I was very close to stumbling upon, and I regret not having done this research beforehand. I also happened to stumble upon the Sylvia Plath blue plaque, which was a very pleasant surprise. I got a ticket for the 3 p.m. show on Sunday. Can you tell I wanted the cheapest option? The set design and costume of Wicked were my highlights. I cried watching Wicked, which surprised me. I went to drink coffee at a cute pink coffee store that was tiny and which made me feel too observed by others to feel more than just this wall of flowers. The day started in St. Paul's Cathedral, once again not too early in the morning. I've had this place on my list since I learned about its existence in the Shadowhunter book series The Infernal Devices, which I will die stating is one of the best YA fantasy book series. The Infernal Devices, not the entirety of Shadowhunters. From the outside, the most standout part of the cathedral is its towering dome, which was made so tall for its time. Given that the architect had a unique interest in astronomy, it remained the tallest part of London's skyline until the late 20th century, which was quite a feat in my opinion. St. Paul's Cathedral was originally Gothic, constructed between 1087 and 1314. If you looked at the spires of Notre Dame in Paris, you can give yourself a pretty good idea how it might have originally looked. This building, however, was mostly destroyed during the Great Fire of London, a disaster that took place in 1666 that lasted around 4 days and destroyed one of the central parts of London, almost getting to the Tower of London itself. The cathedral was left in such a state that it was ultimately decided to demolish it and build it anew. The architectural style of the current cathedral is the English Baroque. In more general strokes, the Baroque style came as a byproduct of the Counter-Reformation, which, as its name alludes, was a movement to counteract the effects of the Protestant Reformation, giving Catholicism more appeal. Baroque is characterized by greater complexity and extravagance than its Renaissance counterparts. Its innovation came in the form of curves, patterns, and fluidity previously unseen in architecture, at least in Europe. The ceilings are often covered in trompe-l'œil paintings, which sought to create such profoundly realistic scenes that one felt utterly immersed in the heaven the cathedral created. This was a strategy of the Counter-Reformation, to make the people become emotionally involved in the Catholic views of God and the heaven. The interior is meant to be slightly disorienting, lavish, and ornamented, every last detail within the two. And you can really tell with St. Paul's Cathedral that no touch was left unfinished. The architect in charge of redesigning St. Paul's, Sir Christopher Wren, took inspiration from St. Peter's Basilica, found in Rome. And in retrospect, I can see the influence. St. Paul's ends up looking a bit like a more humble version of the Basilica. Overall, the cathedral blew me away with its beautiful ornamentation, the sculptures, and the gold detail. I think it was among the best European churches I visited, albeit not the best one. What didn't blow me away, however, were the memorials and tombs downstairs. There, I found a memorial for the Malvinas War, for the British soldiers who fell there. You might know this better as the Falkland Islands War. However, as a true Argentinian, I'll call it by the name given by my country. The sudden urge to honor your country and its legacy doesn't kick in until you see a memorial for the winning side of an unjust war that massacred even 7 times the amount of people in your country that it did theirs. The Malvinas Islands are an Argentinian maritime territory, and the reason they are occupied by British people is because they did an ethnic cleansing of the population there. I will admit, this was quite a long time ago, around 200 years, but regardless, those points still stand. Argentina was already a country when the Malvinas were forcefully taken by the British. The reality is, even if the islands themselves are British, the sea in which they perform their economic activities are not, which is a big point of contention. I wanted to take advantage to relay this bit of history that is often forgotten. Before leaving, I decided to climb the 500 stairs to the top of the cathedral, and boy, was it worth it. The view was amazing. I didn't have a lot of time this day since I had to return early to pack my things as I was leaving that night to Paris. I checked out mainly the treasure gallery where I found a lot of very interesting texts, manuscripts, photographs and artwork.
Blurry eyes, but I've had enough. It's time to say goodbye. 3 a.m. as I'm walking home with a smile. Smoky moon, like a shiver, all the shadows fade away. All your streets are empty, lights begin to sway.
After perusing these texts, through the glass, of course, to preserve the integrity of the texts, I returned to the place I was staying at for the aforementioned reasons. I took the subway, which meant I could walk the scenic route back home. And just like that, my stay in London was over. Thank you for watching this vlog, and see you in Paris. Bye!